Good morning. It's May 31st. I'm Sabah Hassan. I'm a director at Operations Support and School Finance here at ADE. I have with me Linda and Irvin from the AZEDS team. Today is a pretty light day. I'm optimistic that we're kind of rounding out the end of the year, so I probably shouldn't have said that. Superstitions. So, housekeeping, just give people a chance to hit refresh and get in. This screen looks like a YouTube screen, but I mean, it is a YouTube screen, but I'm not going to be monitoring the comments section. I'm only going to be monitoring a Q&A tab. The top of the video says ask a question at slides.app.google/i1luv, and so that's where the Q&As will actually go. It's a pretty light day though, so if you haven't reached out to school finance before, school finance is primarily tasked with dispersing state aid to school districts and charters. That data is based on student data, but there's also other data points that feed into the payment as well, and so there's a few different things that we'll help you with. You can reach out to us. It should eventually be in the description as well. So here's my goal for June, because that's my good news, bad news. Not much going on right now. I have a queue of about 60 requests to put new schools in our system for. Just a quick reminder is that charters, the charter board approves charters, and then they have to activate a contract as well. So that's why some of those are kind of pending, waiting for interaction with the charter board. That's what those ones are. There are a couple of other New Year setup configuration things just to remind you. We updated the database that we use to track school districts and public schools and private schools and charters and things like that. And it's called the Education Organization System now. So hopefully the name of the system kind of better aligns to the EdFi standard that AZED's based on. But also the system is pretty fast. It's homegrown. I like it. It's cute. So that means I can finally start tracking things a little bit better. For example, if I can ask better questions about how charters are related to each other and things like that. So we're planning on working on that over the summer. So we might have a couple of follow-up questions. But generally, when somebody submits a request to change something about your school, for example, to change the spelling of its name or what grades it serves, we're going to be following up and asking for some kind of governing body approval. So, for example, if you have an intern working in marketing and they write to me asking to change the name of the school, I'm going to be following up just to be safe to ask for, did your superintendent approve it, or is this like approved by the governing board? Just in case somebody who isn't authorized to be asking for things doesn't ask for things that are potentially damaging. So that's just, we ask every time. There are a few other elements about a school that we configure in that database that'll feed to AZEDS. So in the past, we've done them via various forms and things, so you may not have known, but the whole system's going to be just, I think, a little bit more transparent going forward, and hopefully a little bit more obviously technical. So since our EdOrg system, EOS, feeds AZEDS, if you are running a DRP following 90106, the approval for that, approval is a pretty strong word. I mean, the technical approval of it, so it allows you to submit data, is stored in EOS as well. And the relationship between you and a community college, if you're operating a concurrent coursework program, that one will be stored in EOS as well. So we will need you to reach out to us so we can configure it in EOS. But for example, any permissions you have to submit to a school that you don't own is called an alternate EdOrg. And in the past, I've had a form called the tuition out form. Actually, the form is still on our website. We haven't fully switched over yet, but that's stored in EOS as well. So just, that's all we're doing this June is configuring and things. The 200-day calendar deadline is today. So about 10 districts this past year were operating on a 200-day calendar, about 5 of them so far have opted to continue to do so. So we're following up with the other 5 to see if they missed the deadline or if they genuinely don't intend to operate 200-day any longer. And then we're planning on also storing other calendar approvals as we move forward as well. So just if something you're trying to submit to AZEDS is not letting you submit, either support will be able to help you or school finance will be able to help you. So there's that one. Today was a deadline. Today is only just started. Today is a deadline. Okay, verb tenses. Today's the deadline for requesting a 915 in SACE. So it's our intention to close SACE on June 30th because we're not, it is on a pretty antiquated system by now and takes actually quite a lot of maintenance. So while I understand that 915s in SACE are difficult and you would like some extra time to maybe wrap up your last couple of loose ends, I'm not 100% sure that the system is going to allow it after July 1 because there's so many different databases and permissions. And so that's why, to be on the safe side, we're truly aiming to close on 6:30. There are 3 in progress. One of them looks pretty close to completion. The other 2 are genuinely in progress. I'll be following up with those 3 915s just to make sure they know that integrity and aggregation in SACE do take a little bit longer than they do in AZ, so to plan accordingly. So there was that deadline. And then here's my last bit of, I guess, this is my June planning, and it feels like bad news because it's overwhelming. But there are 56 active 915s in AZEDS. It's something over fiscal years 17 and 18. So my team and I are looking at ways to see what kind of things are holding people back from having like a successful 915, because some people are having a little bit of a rougher time than other people. The other thing is a lot of people genuinely do have data they want to correct. So I have another 66 in my queue. There is no physical limit in AZEDS to the number of 915s that can be open at any time. There's just a limit to the number of people who work in school finance. That's all that's happening. So these are the 2 lists we're working on right now. Is 915s and inputting brand new schools. Sorry, that was absolute blankness in my brain. And I'm already getting questions. See how efficient we are? We're so efficient. Thanks. An anonymous user is asking, last webinar you presented a slide that said if you give a student a year-end status in fiscal year 19 grades K through 5, you can delete the 20 membership. The grader says something different. Okay, I would go with the grader then. I haven't read the May grader. The wording that I had in that slide, we ran across accountability, and to sum it up in case I didn't say it well, you'll use the graduation rate, dropout rate, and persistent rate technical manual to determine the code to end each membership, whether it's a year-end status or a withdrawal code. Different codes keep kids in a cohort or remove a kid from your cohort. So for when we're talking about a summer withdrawal, when we're prepping for the new year, you can use a summer withdrawal on any age kid. If you would like to no-show, probably kids that were in K5 last year are no-showable students, but at the end of the day, read the graduation rate and persistence manual. For other people, let's.gov, and then I'm pretty sure it's accountability and research. Ability -research. Oh, see how, well, nope, that was definitely not the right URL. It was, thank goodness. Okay. The grader it shows up immediately on the side. It's one of their widgets on the side of their website. And the grader is their monthly newsletter. So for people who don't know that it's there, that's where the grader is. It's pretty great. I had a tiny blurb to describe whether to use summer withdrawals or no-show because that's the question we were trying to answer. And it looks like the grader does speak to using summer withdrawal codes. There you go. Really helpful question. An anonymous user is asking, I missed the first couple minutes. Did the entity profile form already get replaced or is it being replaced soon? I have a bunch of changes to make. Honestly, we're going to be super flexible with this over the summer, using the old one for the next few months. So I would just submit them. We're really focused on trying to get our changes processed in the next couple of weeks. So there's that one. Someone's shared a link to the grader. Thank you. So it is accountability-research. That's their subsite. Someone has a brief question. Deadline for 20 calendars in AZEDs. Deadline for first data submission through AZEDs. I'm going to take you through to our website really quick. az.gov/finance. Although the last one didn't go well without the www. Memos, 19 memos, and somewhere near the bottom are calendar. Why don't I see it? Interesting. I know we wrote a calendar memo. Maintenance and operation.
Instructional calendar and optional calendar.
Oh, thank you. You're the best. Yeah, thank you. I was looking for a C for calendar. I forgot the word instructional. We put in a memo about on summer vacation and they couldn't submit calendar to ASEDS. So it's open early so that you can submit and then go on vacation. The first time I'm going to be looking for a calendar is on August 13th for the charters to use AZEDs instead of estimated counts if they would like to. So if you're a charter and you intend to use AZEDs instead of estimated counts, you'll want your calendar in by July 9th. Otherwise, the real deadline is August 13th for me to see for charter. Ooh, that was a lot of zooming. And I only went and grabbed that memo because I peeked ahead and I think I saw, there it is. Memo 44 says charter counts are due 7/9, but the ADE calendar shows a collection date of 7/26. Ooh, 7/26. Thank you for that. I'm gonna go follow up and see what's on the ADE calendar. That seems very strange. http://calendar. I'll follow up with them and get that updated. I'm sorry. Ooh, that is weird. No, it's just July is kind of a tight month in school finance. We're working on recalc, kind of rounding out the final year, the end of the prior year, while we're prepping the first payment of the new year. So there's no way that I can collect data that late. Oh, what happened? Where do we go? There's no way I can collect data that late in the month, right? July 26th is when the payment should actually be processed. That was weird. Old slides. And I think I've got one more question. Anonymous user is asking, absence reporting question. If seniors graduate before the end of an LEA calendar, should the days not attended after graduation be submitted as absences? I have never received this question before. I would like to ask that you maybe indicate who you are so I can kind of work with accountability on this one. I think it's safe that the students can be W7'd if graduation is not the last instructional day, because W7 is for a mid-year graduation and a G is for a year-end status. But if a student doesn't attend, that day should be marked absent. So I understand why this question feels like the gray area between these two concepts. So I'd like to send this question to the Achieve inbox and kind of follow up and see where it goes. Oh, that is a cool question. If seniors graduate before, is it all the seniors or is it in an individual senior? Because I know a friend of mine graduated in March and left early. A response. W7 is a withdrawal, but for the purposes of grad rate, W7 and G are um, equivalent, I believe. And so their being equivalent should mean they both remove the, what's called, graduate the student in your cohort the same. So I guess instead of trying to work this out, I was going to go get the persistence manual. Instead of trying to work this out, I'll just take the question to achieve, but I'd like for you to also get the answer. So if you could either send the question to my team or to the achieve inbox. Did I leave the accountability page up? Let me go get it. az.gov. Back to accountability research. Contact us. There is a strangeness about the contact us on our whole web page. Sometimes it left justifies and butts up against the rest of the memos, and sometimes it right justifies and floats on its own, but it's supposed to be in that second ribbon. So at the end of the day, this question is going to the achieve inbox, the kind of what do we do if you don't graduate on the last day. But for my purposes, for school finance purposes, a day that a student does not attend should be an absence. So I believe that if a student doesn't attend during his membership, you should definitely be submitting an absence. That said, I don't know that a G is particularly necessary. I believe that a W7 is equivalent to a G, so you can W7 the student if he finishes before the end of the instructional calendar. But I want to just round that out as a cheap question. Anyway, thanks for that one. That one's a doozy. I think this is the same question again. Deadline for first data submission. I would say the real deadline for first data submission is going to be tied to the first time that I'm using data for every single district. So this memo 44, is about charters, and it says that the first payment of the year should be based on an estimated count. So this year we're going to allow charters to use projected 100th day ADM unless they submit charter estimated counts. And so if you would like to use projected ADM, then the real deadline for a charter using ADM is going to be July 9th, because that gives us time to process the payment for August 1st. And for literally everybody else, and that includes charters that chose to use estimated counts, their deadline, because the first payment deadline for data, the data capture date, is August 13th. So the real deadline for AZ's data, so these are school finance memos 44 and 45. It feels so soon. Like time is just flying. Okay. Thank you. I'm actually really excited to find out what accountability says about this graduating 2 days early question. And then we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I did post dates. Hopefully, when we come back in a couple of weeks, we have no news, and the only slide I have for you is about when to use a grad code and when to use W7. So June 14th. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Oh, that's the wrong buttons.